Hello everyone. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me in this tutorial. I am presenting a tutorial that's been prepared for PyCon US in Pittsburgh. In this tutorial, we'll be building a GitHub bot together. I will show you several concepts like what are GitHub APIs available. I will walk you through the steps of building a GitHub app. And the bot that we will be building, it will it's the bot that will say thanks to the maintainer who installed your bot, and it will also say thanks to new contributors who made pull requests to your repository. So we'll be building this bot using Python 3.7, using the GitHub library, and using the aiohttp web framework. So I'll start with a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Mariatta, and I live in Vancouver, Canada. I work as backend engineer at Zapier, and in my free time, I'm involved in the Python community. I help PyLadies locally and globally. I help with the PyCascades conference, and I contribute to open source. Now, when you contribute to open source too much, in the end, they might just give you commit right to the project. So that's how I became a Python core developer. That's also how I became a co-maintainer of the GitHub library that we'll be using today. So, if at any time you have more questions about this, or if you found the tutorial is not clear, any aspects of the tutorial, maybe you found typos in the documentation, feel free to leave me feedback. My email is mariatta@python.org. I'm also on Twitter as Mariatta, and you can open a pull, like an issue or a pull request to help fix issues with the documentation. And if you appreciate my work, if you learned something out of this, and you like to show your appreciation, I can be sponsored through GitHub. And as well, I really would like, since I did not give this tutorial live, I do not know how many people are taking this tutorial. So if you do take this tutorial and you learned something out of this, you built something cool, I'd love to hear about it. So please do share it with me, either through Twitter, send me an email, or you can even open up an issue, just letting me know of your progress. All right, I thought I'll start by sharing my screen. I'll share you the materials we will use in this tutorial. Okay. In fact, whoops, 1 second. I want to share my browser. All right, so basically we will go through this documentation that I wrote just for this tutorial. You can go to github-app-tutorial.readthedocs.io, and I have the link here. This takes you to the tutorial. Okay, I will start with introducing what are GitHub bots, why would you want to build one, and then I will give a brief introduction of what GitHub library is about and why I recommend using it for building your GitHub bots. I will share some resources related to this tutorial, like basically links to documentations and additional learnings. And then we'll start by using GitHub to make API calls to GitHub on the command line. And after that, we will be building a GitHub app together. I will show the steps one step at a time. I will show you how to create the app on GitHub. I will show how to deploy your code to Heroku, and yeah, all the details. And then we will be building a webhook event handler that is to react to events that occurred on GitHub. So your bot will automatically respond to it. And then we'll be done. Yeah, let's get started. Before starting with this tutorial, because we will be using Python 3.7, make sure you do have Python 3.7. I've provided a link to a very in-depth tutorial of how to install Python in the Real Python guide. So if you have trouble with installation, go check this out. So just make sure that you do have Python 3.7. So if you type in Python 3.7 in your terminal, it should work like that. So, and you will need a GitHub account. That's where we will be creating the app. And yeah, make sure you are able to log into GitHub. Since we will be deploying this to Heroku, you will need a Heroku account as well. And because we're just testing and playing with this, you should be able to work with just the free Dino on the Heroku. So you shouldn't need to pay for anything. And then another useful thing is the Heroku Toolbelt, which will be useful for, like, it has a CLI to Heroku. It can be useful for debugging later, like you can view the logs using the CLI, the Heroku logs using the CLI. So make sure you have those set up. Now, about GitHub Bots, what are they? These are applications that runs automation on GitHub using GitHub webhooks and APIs. You can do a lot of things with GitHub Bots. It can automatically respond to users. It can automatically apply labels, close issues, create issues, and it can even automatically merge pull requests. The GitHub APIs are very extensive, and I truly recommend you look into it and start automating your workflow. So why would you even want to use bots? If you're a maintainer, you can do all of this by yourself by going to GitHub. Because you're a person, you're not on GitHub 24/7. So sometimes it's nice if you can automatically reply to your contributors so they can receive prompt response instead of waiting until you're back. Yeah, I can show you briefly of some of the bots that we have in Cpython project. We rely on automation a lot. We even have 4 different bots to help us. Yeah, let me show you the Cpython repository. Basically, the 4 bots help us with many things. So one of the bots is a bot called the Knights Who Says Knee. Whenever somebody opens a pull request on GitHub, it will check if they have signed the CLA, so it will automatically apply whether the CLA is signed or not signed label. So this red label is automatically applied, as well as the different states. Here you see the awaiting code review. That means the PR is newly opened, it's been reviewed, but it has not been reviewed by a core developer. So it's likely that if it's a new pull request made by a core developer, it will automatically apply the core awaiting core review label. So meaning it's waiting for other core developers to look into it. If the PR is made by someone who is not a core developer, it will be automatically applied with the awaiting review label. It means anyone can leave a review, not just core developers. So those are examples, and I can even show some more examples. Like we have another bot called Miss Islington. So Miss Islington is a bot. It automatically creates pull requests, and it automatically merge the pull requests in the end. So it's done automatically, so we do not have to do so many things as the maintainers. So that's that. Yeah, as you can see, there are lots of possibilities. I think you should look into your own workflow in your workplace, or if you're maintaining an open source project, identify what other things you can automate and build your own bots. So now, GitHub. What is GitHub? GitHub is a Python library. It actually works with Python 3.6 and up. But in this tutorial, we'll use a little feature in Python 3.7. So that's why I ask you to install Python 3.7. It is an async library for working with GitHub APIs. It supports 3 other web frameworks like aiohttp framework and Tornado and HTTPX. I think there is one more framework that we support. I do not remember on top of my head, but anyway, it is an open source project. You can install it with pip. And the nice thing about GitHub is that it abstracts out many details that you need in order to work with GitHub APIs. For example, when you make API calls to GitHub, you need to provide things like API tokens. You need to pass in a certain request headers. And if you were to build that, say, using the request library, I provided some example like how you would do this with the request library. You need to create the request headers, pass in the user agent headers that is required by GitHub. You need to pass in the authorization in the headers, that is a token plus your OAuth token there. You need to specify the accept header. And then when you make an API call, you need to construct the URLs like API github.com and the API endpoint. And then you make the request. So there's a lot of details like that with GitHub. Those are abstract away. So you notice here, just by passing in the token, it will, when it makes API calls, GitHub constructs those headers for you. Additionally, you do not need to provide a full URL to the GitHub's API. And it really simplifies things. Like you do not need to care about the API endpoint. However, by default, it uses the API github.com URL. However, there is a way for, if you're using a GitHub Enterprise, there is a way for you to specify a different API endpoint other than the default API github.com. Check out the GitHub's documentation on how to do that. As well as we will go through more detailed example on how to do this later on in the GitHub API using command line section. GitHub also helps with webhooks, with handling webhook events from GitHub. It provides a way for you to define routes, so you can define individual routes to handle various events that comes from GitHub. We will cover this again in detail later on in the responding to webhook events section. GitHub also helps verify that webhook delivery headers, and it also verifies the webhook secrets, so you do not need to do this on your own. Like, it's taken care of, so all you need to do is read the payload from GitHub and do your logic there. So you do not need to check for the secret yourself. And starting in version 4.1, which was just released just for this tutorial, it was released yesterday. I made this functionality for within GitHub that can help you work with GitHub Apps authentication, things like obtaining the JSON Web Token. Yeah, there are a few I can show you with. Actually, I can show the documentation about it quickly. GitHub. So there is a GitHub Apps module that contains like utility things like how to obtain an installation access token and how to obtain the JWT for working with GitHub Apps. So that's where, okay, I need to fix this typo. Yeah, and since version 4.0, GitHub provides support for working with GitHub Actions. However, we will not cover actions in this tutorial, but so in case that's something you're interested in, check out the documentation. Again, if you follow through, these are utilities you can use for working with GitHub Actions. So yeah, we'll be using GitHub throughout this tutorial. All right, next. So I have provided some links and for more detailed of documentation of VM, which we will use to create virtual environment. There are additional links for GitHub APIs that will be used throughout this tutorial, so you can read in more details there. We will be using GitHub library, as I mentioned. I've provided links to the GitHub's documentation and source code and how to install it. There are additional documentation here if you want to learn more about aiohttp. Documentation and source code is linked there. We also, last year, Andrew Swetlove and I wrote, we gave a tutorial specifically about aiohttp. So if you'd like to learn more about it, that's where you can go to. And also we will use some F strings in this tutorial. So that's an example of how you can build an F string. And yeah, and GitHub and aiohttp are all async libraries in Python. So you can learn more about async IO in this blog post. And if you want to learn more about Python on Heroku, that's the URL for it. So yeah, there are more details here, but we will not go into detail. But that's a learning you can do yourself. So okay, let's start. Let's start writing some code. Let's start by installing git github and aiohttp. So let's go to my terminal and gonna start by creating a directory until we go to okay and make directory. Actually, I do have a tutorials directory and oops. So oh, sorry, GitHub app line. And what are our next steps? Okay, install it. So first create a virtual environment. I'm just going to use the env Python 37-m venv venv activated activate. All right, now we're in a venv. Let's install the aiohttp and git github. Python 37-m pip install git github and aiohttp. If I do pip freeze now, I should see aiohttp git github 410. That's what we need. Great. Okay. What's next? Let's create a GitHub personal access token. So go to that URL. So if you go to GitHub and log in, and in fact, if you go to settings and developer settings, personal access token. So create a new token and give it a good name. So just call it something that can remind you what this token was created for. So you can say it with tutorial or anything else that can help you remember what it is for. We need the repo scope. Check the repo and click generate. So it generates a really long string like this. This is the only time you will see it. So keep it, save it, copy it, save it, and keep it somewhere safe. And yeah, if you forget, if you lost it, I guess you'll have to delete it and generate a new token. So I'm going to save it and okay. Also, don't share this with anyone else except yourself. And by the way, I will be deleting this token after this tutorial, so don't try using it after the recording. Yeah, let's save it in directory somewhere. Just 1 second. So just for right now, I'm just gonna create a file. Access token, just so I have a copy of it. All right, let's go back to our documentation. So we did step 3. We did step 4, 5, and generate. Now save it. Now save it as environment variable. Okay. Export auth equal that long string. So it's there. We're done. I'm using a Mac. That's why I use that step. But if you're on Windows, you can use that command. All right. Now let's create a Python file called create_issue_py. I do not want to save that. So create_issue_py. Whoops. And start with a simple asyncio line. So import the asyncio library. And then I have something called async def main. Gonna set my Python okay, interpreter, and okay, let's do that. So it is an async Python 7 code, and let's just make sure it's running. So for me, if I click run here, it should just I should see a hello world. Let's see what's going on. What's going on here? Sorry about this. Okay, let's do it in command line. So if I run that code, Python create issue, I see a hello world. So that's how I know my code is working. That's how that's how to run it. Anyway, okay, we need to import the github and aiohttp libraries. So let's add those. And let's instantiate the GitHub API. So that using the code there. So instead of hello world, I'm instantiating an aiohttp client session, and I'm instantiating the GitHub API, and I'm going to give it the, so in the auth token there, that's basically the GitHub token that I generated earlier, and I save, and then I'm getting it from the environment variable. So that's that. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're going to, using the API, we're going to create an issue in my repository. So if you look at GitHub's documentation on how to create an issue using their API, it says here is basically make a post request to this URL repos owner, that's owner and repo, that will be the repository where you want to create it to, /issues, and pass in this these parameters. So basically the title is a required parameter. So basically you pass in this JSON data. Title is required, body is optional, and you can specify the assignees. So in GitHub, so when it says post to that URL, in GitHub, it looks like this. You use the GitHub API that we instantiated earlier, make a post request to that URL. So that's repos owner and repo name /issues, and then pass in the data like that. So let's copy it and wrote the code like that. So this is how your code would look like. I'm pretty sure my code looks the same. Then let's run that. Nothing happens, it's completed. However, if we go to my repository, Mariatta, strange relationship, there is an issue that got opened recently, 19 seconds ago, by myself. And it says, we got a problem, use emoji. That's basically what we said here. The title is, we got a problem, and the description is, use more emoji. So it works. So we just use GitHub API to create an issue without even going to GitHub. So there, we finished that. Now, all right. So here's an exercise for you. Why don't you leave an additional comment to the same issue that we just created here? So, okay, so we open an issue, but now we wanna leave a comment here using the API. The GitHub documentation for that says, make a post request to this URL, repo/owner repo name /issues /issue number /comments. So if you wanna pause here and maybe take some time yourself to try this on your own, you can pause here. So in fact, let me pause my recording. So if you wanna take a break, try all of this by yourself first, and then I will continue with the solution. I will show you how I did that. So all right, welcome back. So I mentioned about, I hope you had chance to practice and did that simple exercise yourself. But yeah, let me share how I would do it right now. I'm gonna share my screen. All right, so going to copy this URL, and I would adjust the code as follows. So owner is myself, repo is strange relationship, and issue number and comments. Delete the rest without the trailing slash. This is the issue that I wanted to leave comment on. Issue number 277. So let's add that to 77, and the input is just the body. All right, another one, and save and run it. And there you go. Pretty simple. I hope you were able to do that yourself. Let's take a look at another exercise here. That is, let's close the issue that were created. So this is a little bit something different. Okay, did an issue. So this is the API this is the documentation that we'll take a look at. You can edit an issue using this endpoint. It says patch to this URL, and in here you can pass in the state that can be either open or closed. So closing an issue is a matter of calling the patch on this URL and passing the state as closed. So let's do that. So that's the URL, and instead of gh post, we'll call gh patch without any, well, actually, yes, we need to pass in the data. The state is closed, and that's the only thing we need. So if you save that and run it, then now the issue has been closed. Cool. All right. Got another exercise that I think would be interesting for you to try. Here, adding a reaction for an issue. So basically, all right. To add the reaction, there is this special URL. You make a post to the /reactions URL, and you pass in the content and the reaction type. So you click that again, you will see the different types of reactions, like +1, -1, love, and everything. So yeah, now the catch here is that you need to pass in a certain accept header to the API call. So how does this look like with GitHub library? So basically, okay. So in GitHub, you can easily pass in the accept header by as the argument like this, accept equal not 277, basically whatever GitHub tells you. So copy paste that accept, put it there, and again the URL is reactions, and the data that we need to pass is content, and let's say, let's try left. So what happens if we run that? Oh, maybe I made a mistake in, oh, it's not a patch, but a post. All right. Oh, I guess because the issue has been closed. Let's try on this open issue 276. All right, yes, so we cannot leave reaction on a closed issue. So that probably makes sense. Yeah, now you can see the laugh emoji on the issue. All right. So we've completed that section. Basically now you all have some experience making API calls to GitHub, and I hope you understand like how to read the documentation and find information there. So let's go to the next section about now we're going to start building a GitHub app. So in the previous example, I've shown you how to interact with GitHub by performing actions. You make API calls, you make requests to GitHub, and again, we're doing it locally on your own machine. So it's not actually a bot. It doesn't respond to anything, right? So we're manually running the code. So now let's learn about webhooks and how will this help us build the bot. So a little bit of more information about webhook events. When an event is triggered in GitHub, GitHub can notify you about the event by sending you post requests along with a payload. Some example events that GitHub can send you are issues related events. So whenever there is an issue that got assigned or unsigned, an issue was labeled, unlabeled, issue opened, issue edited, closed, reopened, and so on. There are pull request related events. So somebody opens a pull request or edit it, close it, or request reviews on those pull requests. And there is a status checks events. So whenever there is, this is basically one of those CI status updates. You can see the complete list of the events that GitHub provides. So as I mentioned, there are issues and issue comments events and pull request events, and you can click on them to get even more detailed of examples of like what are the payloads that will get sent for those particular events. Okay, now since GitHub needs to send you a post request for these webhooks, so it can't send these events. It cannot make post requests to your personal laptop. So we need to create a web service that is open on the internet. And this web service is basically what will become our GitHub app. So there are lots of options for your hosting for your hosting options. You can definitely deploy this on your platform of choice. But for this tutorial, I will use Heroku. Heroku is basically what we use for Cpython's GitHub Bots. Now let's talk about the authentication on the GitHub app. So in the previous section, I've shown you how to get a personal access token for running our scripts. And that token is basically how GitHub knows who you are, who's making this call. And that's how it knows that this API call is to be associated with your account. Now, a GitHub app has a slightly different mechanism for authentication. So your GitHub app can actually be installed in various repositories. It can be installed by multiple people if you allow it. So now the question is how to identify users of the GitHub app. How can we let GitHub know who's making these API calls? And like if we were using the OAuth tokens before, does that mean that we need to ask for access tokens from people who have installed your app? So that seems not very secure and not very practical. So so it has a different mechanism. What happens is that when you install a GitHub app, that installation got assigned an installation ID. So when you receive webhook events for your GitHub app, it will include that installation ID in the part of the payload. Now, you can use the installation ID from the webhook to create an installation access token. And once you get the access token, you can use the token to make API calls, similar to how you use a personal access token. So it's a little bit complicated, and you can do more reading on that documentation so to better understand the process. So the question now is that how do we get this installation access token? That documentation actually explains more details. The basic process is as follows. You will be creating a JSON web token using the GitHub's app ID and the private key. You will then pass in that JSON web token and installation ID to GitHub, and GitHub will give you back the installation access token. So I've briefly mentioned this in the beginning of the tutorial before we started that GitHub provides the utilities to do this. So if I open the documentation again, these are a couple. This is how you would. This coroutine is basically what you will use to get the installation access token. All right, let's get started. In these sections, we'll do some setup. We will need to create the web service in Heroku. We will need to create a repo of our code base, and we will need to create a GitHub app. So there is a lot of setup that's taking place. We will be switching like from one browser to another, from one site to another. So all right, let's Let's start by creating the web service. Let's follow these steps one by one. I've to help speed up this process, I've created like a boilerplate web service code base that you can use, and you can basically just fork this. Let's go to click. Whoops, did I? One second. All right, that's the URL. I'll fix the documentation so it can be linked properly. So basically, you can fork this if you want, and then clone it. Since I have a copy myself, I'm just going to clone it locally. Let's see. Clone repo, git clone. All right, what else? Fork and clone repo. Yeah, I guess let's go over the file structures there. You will notice several files, the proc file. Let me actually open that so you can see the code base. Tutorials, this window. All right, it comes with several files. The proc file is basically a specific file that is needed for Heroku. This is basically telling Heroku how to start a web service. README requirements. So this is also another file that's needed by Heroku. Heroku needs to know that this is a Python code base. It needs to know what dependencies are needed by your code, and it will actually look up the contents in the requirements.txt file and install it for your web service. So I've included the requirements here. So we need aiohtp, we need github, pygwt, cryptography, and cache tools. I've gone over those. Okay, let's talk about Runtime Txt. This is also a Heroku specific file. So again, if you're using something else, you might not need the exact same file. So this file tells Heroku that you want to run Python 3.7.6 and not some other Python versions. So Heroku will install Python 3.7.6 for you for your web service. All right, main.py, that's the other code that we need to go through. We will be working on this file mostly. So I'll start from the bottom. This is the main function. Basically, it tells us this is how we tell Python how to start the web service. This is an aiohttp web application. I'm gonna have to set the port, so I don't think we need to make any changes here. I'll tell you about the webhook. So this is basically the event handler. What we have here is that we will create the /webhook URL in our web service, and when we receive request into and we're telling this we're going to accept post request to this URL. and we receive that. This is basically the logic for handling the webhook. This is where we will read the GitHub app secret, and when we instantiate GitHub API, the secret, it will use this secret and validate against the incoming webhook from GitHub. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say there. I guess we can try running it locally first. Now I'm in a new repo. I'm going to deactivate my previous session, start a new virtual env. Okay, install the requirements. Oops. Pip install dash upgrade pip and install requirements. Oh, what am I missing? Oh, I need to go to the correct folder. 1 second. Okay, let's run pip install again. Now we're going to run it locally, which is basically the same command as what's in the proc file. It's running. Let's check it out on the browser. There it is, hello world. So that's that. Cool. So it's working. So I recommend that you try it. Make sure it's running. Now let's deploy it to Heroku. So log into Heroku. I'm already logged in. Create new app. This is my Mariatta's, say it with bots. And by the way, you can rename this later even after you create it. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, and I'm going to connect to my GitHub account. Basically, I'm going to choose where is so basically I want to connect the boilerplate repo that I have to Heroku, so it can automatically deploy any changes that I committed to this repo gets automatically deployed. So it just makes it simpler. Connect. And I'm going to say, wait for CI to pass. And enable automatic deploy. Okay, going to see if it's been deployed. Actually, I'm going to click deploy right now. All right, it says been deployed. So I got a URL here, deployed to Heroku. And if I go there, it now says hello world, which is the same thing as I said, with the same result locally. So that's great. Okay, and yeah, if you have the tool belt, Heroku Toolbelt, you can check the logs. So instead of going to the Heroku, you can review your logs in the terminal. So the app name, so Heroku logs dash a, and my app name is, well, kind of long, dash dash tail. So there you go. You can see the running log of your web service. Okay, I'm going to quit there. Okay, what's next? Okay, we're going to create a GitHub app. So go there, settings app, and again you can go here if you lost the link somehow. Go to your profile, settings, developer settings, and new, click on the new GitHub app. So sorry, I got distracted. 1 second. Okay. All right, let's create a bot. We'll go with, say it with bot. From the tutorial. So let's see, what do we need? The important things are the webhook URL. That is basically your Heroku Apps URL, webhook URL, and slash webhook basically, and the secret. And this is, it says it optional, but GitHub actually requires this field. So type in some secret that will be a secret between the GitHub app and your web service. So this is to protect you from, so that you will not run, or you will not handle any events or any other requests from any other sources, but only if it comes from GitHub, and only if the secret matches. So if you have a, like a password generator app, you can use it to generate some random string, but for simplicity, I'm just going to type hello here, just to make it simple, hello. And what do we need? I think we just need issues and pull request permissions to read and write. Permissions, okay. Issues, make that read and write. Pull request makes that read and write. What else do we need? Subscribe to events, take the issues, and pull requests. So let's do that. Subscribe to events, take the issues, and pull requests. And for now, I'm going to allow this to be installed by myself. But if you've developed your GitHub app and you're happy with it, you want people to start using it, so at that time you can change it to any account. But for now, just for myself, and you make your app for yourself. Oh, okay, let's put your app here. All right. Okay, now we got an app. Notice we got app ID, client secret. These are all important things. And GitHub asks you to generate a private key. Yes, to do this, and then we will use this private key later for in our Heroku. So click that and click generate. And okay, I'm going to show how the private key file looks like. So just gonna copy it here so you can all see it. I don't know what's going on. No, I do not wanna. So this is how the private key file looks like. What do we do next? All right, now we need to set up the environment variables. Remember that in our previous tutorial, when we work with the GitHub, using the GitHub APIs in the command line, I asked you to store the auth secret auth token as an environment variable. So that is how it will work with Heroku as well. So you definitely should not commit your secret into your code base. It should be stored as an environment variable within Heroku. So I'll show you how to do that. So first, let's go through the environment variables that we need to set. The first is GitHub App ID. So when you go to Heroku settings tab, there is a place here where you can reveal config bars. Click that, and this is how you will define it. So we want the GitHub App ID, and just copy whatever you see in your app's ID and click add, and we'll go through everything else as well. So the GitHub secret is the webhook secret. So that is basically the hello just now. And now the private key. All right. So the private key, and that is the content. Basically this big text here. Just select all and copy and paste it here like that. Okay. Okay, we got a web service running. We got the config files. So now we can really start working on the bots. So that's done. Okay, let's go to the next section. So the first webhook events that we want to implement is to thank the maintainer for installing it. So whenever somebody first install your GitHub app, GitHub does send you that event. So when you receive it, you can do nothing. You can ignore the event, or you can be nice and just say thanks to the maintainer. Say thanks for installing me. Looking forward to work with you, or something like that. So okay. Now we've learned in the previous section. I've shown you how to create and close an issue. So saying thanks to the maintainer is really just a matter of opening an issue, which we know how to do. Now the trick here is that we need to find out where is the repo that we want to leave this to open the issue, right? Previously we had it hard-coded in the script. It was pointing hard-coded to my own personal repository. So now we need to figure out where was this app installed and how can we grab that information. So if you look at GitHub's event documentation, there is an installation event. Cool. Installation event there, and it's triggered whenever somebody installs or uninstalls. When somebody installs, you will see the created text value, and if somebody uninstall, you will see the deleted value there. So here's how this is basically what the data that GitHub will send you. It starts with it has the key say action that tells you that the installation was deleted. There is installation ID, and if you look closer, there is even the sender. Let's see, I think we just need the installation ID. And okay, yeah, and there's an app ID that we will need. Okay, and this is the part that we will need later on, the repositories. The full name is basically what will tell us like where that repository is, and that's where you will open the issue. All right, now let's go back to our code. In main.py, I've created this router here, basically registered a router. So here is where I will tell the web service, this is the logic that we want to execute when we receive the installation created event. So whenever somebody install your GitHub app, it will be redirected here, and this is where we will implement our logic. So just look at the parameters here. The event is the payload from GitHub. That is basically that big JSON data. GH is an instance of the GitHub API that we have initialized early on. So that's GH is an instance of GitHub API as shown here. Now we have to fill in the rest. So let's go back to the previous examples where we know how to open an issue on GitHub, and I will copy paste our previous code. So it's something like this. We without the accept, and basically make a post request to the URL, and without, and basically it's just issues without number. We're opening a number. opening a new issue, and we need the title and body in the data. So title, thanks for installing me. Body, you're the best. All right. But we don't actually want it on this hard-coded repo name. So we will actually access, we will use the data from the payload. So if the repo full name is in the repositories and full name, so the way we will access that is follow repo full name data, repositories, the first one, full name. And then make that into an F string. All right. Now, all right. Okay. Now let's go back to the notion of GitHub Apps. So we don't, in this case, we don't want to use the personal access token. So what we'll do is we will use the access token, the installation access token. And the code to do that is you can copy it from here. Basically, just call the get installation access token and pass in the GitHub API and the installation ID. And the installation ID was something we obtained from the webhook. So token is that. Oops, I did not copy the right one. Hold on. Installation access token is that. Now that we have it, when we call the post, we will pass in that token is installation access token, just like that, just by passing in the auth token parameters. So I've done that. Okay, now something cool. We wanna say thanks to the person. We wanna figure out who installed it, and in fact, GitHub also gives you that information. If you look at the payload examples here, there is the sender and the login name. So it means that it was user Octocat who installed your GitHub app. So if you wanna adjust your code to say, in the body and the username. So basically is event data sender. I forgot, is it login? All right, login. So just pass that into the body or in the title or something, however you like. All right, so yeah. So actually, okay, yeah. So in fact, because it's possible for you to receive more than one installations. When they choose to install your GitHub app, they can choose multiple repos at the same time. So yes, this will be a list which you can look through. So actually, yeah, it will be better if we actually loop through that. Okay, let's adjust the code. So for repo in repositories, and response. So the full name is the repo full name. All right, that should do it. And because our bot said it has gone through and created those issues, it can be considered as spamming. So it would be great if the bot just close the issue right away to help the maintainer to clean it up. So how do we do that? So when we so when we make that API call, we receive the response back. There are a lot of information that get returned in that response. So let's check that out. Check out the example response that you will get of the installation. Oh no, sorry. The response for when you create that issue. It is a list, and it returns you the issue number that was opened by that API call. So you can access the data like that. So actually, I don't think this is the right endpoint. Open an issue, create an issue. This is the API call. So the response here is like the number is returned in the number key. All right, and the issue URL is also there. Let's take a look. All right, yes. So this is also the API. This is the issue endpoint. Okay, so we know from before how to close an issue. It's basically a patch to the issue's URL and passing in the state close. And this is basically the exact same thing. The only thing we're changing is that we're going to use the installation access token. Okay, yes, it is. It should be more like this. So issue URL is basically a response URL, and then we're going to close it by doing gh-patch to the issue URL and pass in the data. State is closed, and don't forget the auth token. There you go. All right, so let's commit. All right, let's commit this file, deploy it to Heroku. Say thanks to the maintainer. Commit and push. Now let's go to Heroku. Actually, let's see in the logs if it's building. Okay, let's see if I can make sure it gets deployed. Okay, I'm going to start the deploy. So here you can see the logs getting updated. Okay, deployed. And if we go back here, this should give me, this still works. Okay. All right, let's see what happens. Let's try it out. Let's install that app. So go back to the GitHub app, your GitHub Apps setting. Click install app, click install, and I don't want to install it everywhere. This is just a tutorial. I'm just going to install it in my strange relationship repo, so just on the one. Click install, and it seems to be installed. Now let's check the webhooks. So go back to your GitHub Apps list, go to the GitHub app, go to advanced. Okay, something's wrong. What am I? These are all 404. Okay, let's figure out what's going on. It's saying this URL is 404. Okay, maybe I did not deploy it, or I did not commit it correctly. GitHub app boilerplate. Just 1 second. I have to say thanks to the maintainer, and I have the webhook. And let's actually go to the GitHub. Oh, that's not what I want. Okay, I got the say thanks. What's going on here? I believe should not included the slash. Right, okay, that's my mistake. Sorry about that. Go back to the settings of this and yes, change the URL without without the slash. Okay, all right. So there was an error. But okay, this is actually a good example now. So there was an error with delivering our webhook. Now, do we need to like reinstall the app again in order to receive it? Well, you don't have to. Basically, you can go through to your GitHub Apps setting and like click Advanced, and you can see all the failed deliveries here, right? And you don't have to reinstall it. All you need to do is basically try redelivering it. And now it works. So we can go through each of these one by one. And this is basically the installation that we are looking for, the installation webhook events that we wanted. So let's redeliver that. Now it's success. And let's also redeliver this again. Let's see. Oh, something's wrong here. This has 500 errors. Okay, let's see. Let's take a look at the log now. Oh, I did not pass in. Oh, sorry. Oh. Yes, actually. Okay. What do we need from here? I will fix the documentation. I should look at GitHub documentation. Apps. Okay, so basically installation ID and app ID and private key. All right. Yes. So 1 second. Installation ID, we have it. We need app ID, which is something we got from the environment variable. Basically, app ID, these are the environment variable we defined earlier, and private key is ensure there's no typos. Use private key. All right, let's commit that. Fix the installation access token call. It's been committed, and now let's deploy it. Deploy. All right. Let's go back to our GitHub Apps webhook settings and try to redeliver this again. Okay, it's successful. It's passed, returning a 200. Let's see if it actually create the issue that says thank you. So all right, so there you go. So this was opened and closed 30 seconds ago. So there's an issue created by the bot, my bot. It has the bot indicator. It says, thanks for installing me, you're the best. It knows who installed it and then immediately close the issue. So there you go. All right, so we did all of this, and let's see. All right, here I've shown you how you can check the logs. If you have the toolbelt, the Heroku toolbelt, use this on the command line. And I mentioned what happens if you have errors in your webhooks. Yeah, I've shown you how you can just redeliver the webhook instead of like having to uninstall and install it again. So now that you know that, the next exercise is to thank a new contributor for their pull request. So if somebody open a pull request and if they have not done it before, so they are new to the organization, we want to say thanks for your first pull request. So I've shared some links here, details of the relevant documentation, and there is an example of the pull request event payload. So yeah, perhaps you can take another break time here. If you wanna, like, if you've been watching and you're itching to try this for yourself. So I'm going to pause my recording right now. Take a break and yeah, try this exercise on your own and come back, and then I will show you the solution for this. Hello again, welcome back. Yeah, let me share my screen again. All right, so I hope you had chance to do this, but if not, that's fine. So yeah, let's write out this code. So we wanna thank a contributor when they open a pull request. So how do we do that? First, we gotta take a look at the pull request event documentation. Okay, pull request event is down here, and that's an example of the payload. So what do we need out of this? Okay, so when a pull request is opened, we wanna figure out who opened it. So we also need to figure out what is the PR number so we can respond to their pull request. So if we look at the payload example for when we receive the, okay, this is deployment status actually, 1 second. Pull request event. Okay, so This is an example of, this is the documentation for the pull request event on GitHub. And here is the webhook payload. So you will receive from GitHub the action name, that is whether it was opened or closed, the pull request number, and what else are important here? We should have as well who created the pull request. If you scroll all the way down, right, the sender again, we've seen a similar structure before, sender and login. And another important info out of this is that is this author association value that is sent alongside the webhook data. There are various, there are, I think, 4 possible values here. Owner means the owner of the repo, or the owner of the organization, and there are other. Here I wrote in the documentation here. So if that value is member, it means they are a member of the organization. For example, if they are a maintainer of that repo. Contributor means they have contributed to that repository before, meaning they have opened a pull request, it was accepted, and then they become a contributor. Now, if it's none, it means this is their first time opening the pull request there. So with that information, you can find out whether this is someone new or whether this is an experienced contributor to your repo. So those are the important details. So how do we write a code for this? Yeah, so let's start by subscribing to the pull request opened event. So basically, let's just copy this code there, like that. We know that we will need to make an API call, right? So something like, now we need a URL. So commenting up on a pull request is you'll be using the same API as commenting on an issue, which we have done before. But I'm going to just check the documentation again. So it's basically post to this URL, to the owner repo /issues / the issue number, that will be the PR number, and comments. And let's see if we got any of those here. Okay, so basically the pull request issue URL will give you part of the URL that you need. So I guess we just need to add in /comments there. So let's do that. Go back. Okay, so we will use URL is event data pull request, and then issue URL, right? And then the actual URL we need is issue URL and just slash comments. Just make sure there was no typo. Yes, slash comments and pass in the body. And data something. So we're gonna say thanks and the author, and that is basically okay, I'm going to do it here. Username is sender and login. So username, and again we need to pass in the installation access token. So just going to copy from the previous step. All right, installation ID is same as before. All right, and so that will leave the comment saying thank you for the PR. Thanks for the PR. What else do we want? Okay, yes. So we wanna say that thanks only if it's their first time contributor. So so we need to access the data as pull request and author authentication. So author association, sorry, association, yes, that. And so if there is value to it, it's not done. It means seasoned computer, right? And otherwise, if it's empty, if it is that means it is a first time contributor. And I would even say for your first contribution, sender, and don't forget the F. And so if it's a seasoned contributor, I'm going to say welcome back, sender. Whoops. Oh, I call it username instead of sender. All right. So message is there. So that should do it. Oh yes, I did provide a link to the solution. So, oh, okay. Okay, I got that wrong. So we actually need it is a none, a string that says none. So that's fine. That means if well, so if this is none like that, it means they are a first-time contributor. And for everything else, we're going to say you are a oops. Well, let's print that out. And That should do it. So let's commit this. Add pull request created event. Create and push. And deploy. Gonna make sure it got deployed. Okay, so now if I go back to the repo and create a pull request, just anything. Create a pull request, test the bot. All right. So I create a pull request and boom, there it is. Immediately the bot responds, welcome back, you are an owner. Oh, I guess I have lots of bots here. So yeah. Yes, I've done this tutorial several times. So yeah, that was cool. All right. So that's that. We finished that. Okay. How about this? The next exercise. Let's leave reactions to the pull request commands. The example. Okay, yes, this is what I need. Reacting to an issue comment. All right, so basically, if there is new comments on issues that is still open, we wanna automatically give a thumbs up reaction. So we've done similar thing before, so it's about the same thing. Let's look at okay, issue comment event. So basically, we want to subscribe to whenever somebody left a new comment to the issue. Okay, so that means we want to subscribe to the issue command created. Let's do that. Copy paste this again, and I'm going to copy all the way to the installation access token because those are the same thing. All right, issue comment created, and this is issue comment created. And what do we want to do? We want to create a reaction. So make a post to the issue / comments, comment ID, and reactions. Oh, comment ID. So we need, let's see if it is passed in to the payload. This is issue comment created. Issue URL. Okay, here is, I believe this is the, no, that's not the URL we need. So what do we need again? /comment ID. Okay, let's see if we got a comment ID. Okay, there you go. We got a comment and the ID. Okay, so comment ID is, to check that again, so comment ID, oops. Comment ID and the URL we need is basically the issue URL, issue URL, and oh, actually we'll use the comments URL. Is issue comments URL that gives us the /comments, and then we need to add comment ID and reactions. Okay, so, and it is a post content. Okay. So GitHub post, and the URL as comments URL slash comment ID and reactions. And again, we need to pass in auth token, and the data is content and reaction type. Whoops. What happened? Sure. Don't forget to put this into F3. Okay, we don't even need. Okay, do we need username? Yeah, because we want the bot just leave reactions if it is you, for example, just for fun. So it will not give hearts to somebody else, only if it's your own comments. So okay, so in that case, we want to check, just gonna make sure it is in the same sender login. Okay, so if username is Mariatta myself, then I will automatically give a heart. Let's commit this. Radically react heart to my own PR comments. Let's do that. Okay, then deploy it again. All right, it's done. So let's go to my repo again. Okay, so if it works properly, if I say something, anything, I should immediately, oh, nope, it does not do anything. Okay, let's debug this together. Pull request opened. Oh yes, I'm so silly. um, yes, of course. Even when I created this app earlier, I believe I did not. Yes, I need to tick the issue comment events, otherwise nothing happened. So yes, so tick that and save. So now if I go back to the GitHub settings, advanced. Oh, actually, I think I need to actually leave another comment here. Oh, still nothing happened. Let's check out the webhooks. Okay, there's an error here. 500. So let's see what's going on. Check the logs again. Excuse me. It actually returns not found. Okay, so let's take a look here. What is the problem here? Going to do some debugging now. Let's see what is the problem. And yes, I forgot about the header. So I don't think I need to debug. So that accept. There you go. This should work. All right. All right, let's get that deployed again. All right, let's do it. Okay, it seems like it's still not working. Um, oh, this should be a comments URL instead of issues URL. Okay. All right, now this will work. So sorry about this. Okay. So I believe, see. Okay, let's deploy this again. All right, let's just redeliver these webhooks again. What did I do? Comments. What is this issue? Oh gosh, I'm making so many typos. Comment URL. So this is what we want. Comment URL. All right, I've got this. All right, let's redeliver this again. Wait, make sure the deploy was actually done. Okay, it's rebuilding. All right, it's going to work now. What's going on? Oh, yes. This should only include the reactions. So we don't need the comment ID. Oh. Alright, let's redeliver this one more time. Okay, it seems to be working, and there you go, there is the heart. Alright, whew, that works. Yeah. Okay, shall we go to the next? I think this is the last exercise that I've prepared. Okay, the next is, let's label the pull request. So whenever somebody opens a pull request, have it automatically label something like pending review or something. Okay. All right. So the API call is edit an issue and update an issue basically. And in here, so you call a patch to that issue and put in add the labels like an array of strings. So we scroll back up. We already have that handler for when a PR was opened. And now I guess what we wanna do is add more to it saying add label. Okay, patch the issue. We got the issue URL. Okay. Let's think of the URL a little bit later, and the data is labels and an array of strings. So needs review, for example, and don't forget the auth token. Okay, let's figure out the URL again. That is the most complicated part of this, figuring out the response, figuring out how to construct the URL. So if we go back to here, if I have an example of, so this was an example of the earlier pull request opened event that my bot has received. So in there is the, so that's what we need. So basically the issue URL here, that's basically what we needed in the API call. issues and issue number. So actually, yeah, just the pull request and issue URL is all we need, which we already got it from before. So let's just commit that and apply label when PR is opened. Okay, while it's being deployed, let's go back and create another PR. And I want to create a pull request. So let me wait until the build has been finished. Okay, starting. Create the pull request. Dum dum dum. Did all right. Oh, okay. Oops, I made a mistake here. Not adding the. Oh wait. Oh. Okay. Okay. Now it's building again. Okay. Let's just redeliver the same webhook so I don't have to create another pull request. So that was this is the webhook event. It was successful, but I'm going to redeliver it again anyway. Still good, and I can see already the label was added. The bot left comment, and it adds the needs review label. So that's that. Yeah, so I think that's the end of our tutorial. So we went through a lot of things. We built a GitHub app from scratch, a working GitHub bot. So if you were able to follow along, and if you have your own GitHub bot working at this point, congratulations! It's awesome. I know I'm sorry that I made lots of mistakes here. That makes this longer than it needs to be. But I guess the lesson is in your real development time, you'll probably be writing more unit tests instead of keeping deploying like what I did. Yeah, we touched a lot of things. I showed you how to read the logs in Heroku. I've shown you how to debug the webhook events. Like there's something, if you got an error, your bot doesn't seem to work. I've shown you how to view those webhook events and how to redeliver them, so you don't actually have to reopen issues or reinstall the app. I think I explained about GitHub App authentication, and I know you by this point you should be familiar with GitHub API documentation, so you will be able um, to build your own custom GitHub bots. Let's see what's in the next section. Great, you built your bots. Yeah, I hope that with all of these examples and exercises of building a GitHub bot, now you have ideas on how you can automate your own workflow. So I've shared additional ideas here of what you can do, like can automatically delete a merge branch. I know this is a new feature on GitHub, I guess, like it can, like there's a setting in your user setting, I believe, or in the repo setting to automatically delete merge branch. So you probably don't need to build this yourself right anymore. An interesting thing is that maybe you can monitor issues in your issue comments in your repo. So if you notice if the bot can detect some, say, offensive words or spammy contents, maybe you can catch those, and maybe you can even choose to delete or notify maintainer somehow. You can build this functionality where you can have your bot automatically merge pull requests when all the status checks has passed. So I know that this is a feature in GitLab, and I know a lot of people wish this is available on GitHub. You can have a bot that does this, and in fact, Miss Islington do this for Cpython. We built the bot that does it, so you can see Miss Islington's code base to see how it does. Yeah, there are lots of other informations here. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I think that's the end of this tutorial. Again, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for bearing with me, watching me doing some mistakes here. Really appreciate it if you stay all the way till the end. And again, since I do not know who's taking this tutorial, I'd appreciate if you keep me updated. I wanna know what cool bots did you build, and I really hope that you've learned something new here. So if you wanna get in touch with me, my contact info is at the very beginning of this tutorial. So you can email me, mariatta@python.org. I'm on Twitter as Mariatta. My DM is open, and again, I can be sponsored through GitHub if that's something you are able and want to do. So thank you again. Bye now.